Welcome into The Mic is Open. I'm your host, Alan Hoshida. This week, it's a great one, a special one. We're bringing on Ahmed Fareed of NBC Sports, the big ship, the mothership under the NBC umbrella. And Ahmed is truly one of the best in the business, done pretty much anything you set out to accomplish in this biz. He's done it. Olympics, Kentucky Derby, Super Bowl, World Series, Football Night in America. He is one of the faces and one of the hosts that NBC turns to when they need someone to do a truly great job. And he's a true professional. I love it because our time goes back to San Francisco when he was here doing Sportsnet Central, Giants Pre and Post. I was on the production side as well. And from that moment, he was gracious enough to take me under his wing, been a mentor my whole career. I've called him my sensei for good reason because of some of that sage advice. And so to have him on this podcast is truly something special. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Let's get right to it and open up the mic. Ahmed Fareed, the man I've given a lot of my career to. I should just hand it to you and say thanks for everything you've done for me because that's how far back we go. Thanks for joining me on The Mic is Open. I really, really appreciate it.
Alan, I remember the first times I met you. We were in our newsroom in San Francisco preparing for a Sportsnet Central. It was probably a 6 or 10:30 Sportsnet Central. You were probably cutting the Sharks highlight at that point, and we became good friends there. And then just to see you move on and move away, get into what you wanted to do as being in front of the camera, and then coming back to San Jose, covering the Sharks, being back in our old building. I'm like a proud papa. I know we're both dads right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how much older I am than you, but I feel like a proud papa seeing you and all your success that you've had, Alan.
Well, I really appreciate it. I mean, we've had phone conversations that have lasted hours about my career. I give you credit for pushing me to do a sports director job, even though it wasn't necessarily the market I wanted to do it. You just said, get on TV. Doesn't matter. As many times as you can get on TV, the more often, the better. And that's some advice that's always stuck with me. And I did actually go back. I was like, all right, much older is Ahmed than me? I think you're about 8 years because you graduated in 98, right?
So very unlikely I would be your father. So that's
good.
Good.
That's good. Yeah. So we can't fully do that. But Ahmed, we start this Mic is Open podcast all the time. The first question I always give you to any guest is, do you have anything to get off your chest? The mic is here for you. Go ahead and step on up if you have anything you'd like to relieve yourself of.
So, I mean, you know me. It's just like I've always got crazy ideas that I want to get off my chest. And when I was in San Francisco, I would tell anyone who was within earshot of how we can save baseball, how we could change it, 6-man lineup, make Sunday games worth 3 wins, all that kind of stuff. So I could talk for days on changing rules and how we could make baseball better and basketball and football better. So I won't go down that road again unless you really want me to. I can do that. But what I'd say is we're both in the same thing now, and we both do TV, and we do it because we love sports, and we do it because we like to perform and create something magical on TV and have a good rapport with whomever we're with, and so that the people back home, it increases their enjoyment of whatever sport they're watching. What I would want to get off my chest is to some of those people, and most of 99.9% of the fans and the people who watch are super positive, and they'll give great comments and say, hey, you're doing a great job, and we love watching the show. But there, Alan, the 5% of people that will never be happy with whatever we do. And so if there was one thing I was going to get off my chest is to tell those people, yes, we do read the comments. It's hard not to. Be nicer to us. We're trying our best. We're trying to increase the enjoyment of the sport that you're watching. And like I say, 95% of the time it's super fun. But if I was to get something off my chest, it's like you always hear people like, I don't read the comments. That's a lie. We all read the comments. And so just be a little nicer. We're trying our best. And constructive criticism is fine. But we're just trying to do the best to increase your enjoyment of the show.
Well, if it's not you're personally, we all have families too. And families read comments, brothers, wives, whoever it may be. It comes back to you some way in some shape or form. And so it's something I'm getting used to as a second year entering Sharks Pre and Post. But yeah, I'm with you. Let's just have fun. Let's enjoy it. We're sports, and obviously sports has a lot. It's big business. There's a lot that come with it, but let's get constructive criticism back and make that the thing that we're looking for. Because we all just want to do great at our job. Just think of this. This thing that I think of is, what if everybody had comments on their jobs?
Yeah, I don't think I want to turn comments off on my job, so I would do the opposite. I go, we get no comments on
Yeah,
anyone's job.
exactly.
But you're right, and it's funny. I actually do want to talk to you about this because I feel like it's a similar situation that you moved into. It's like we obviously both knew Brody, great friend, did awesome with the Sharks, was connected to him for almost what 2 decades.
Yeah.
Whether he was there at the arena or doing the pre and post game, and still a little bit at the arena after that, and now back with him in some capacity. Brody did an awesome job. My last 2 years in San Francisco, when they got rid of Sportsnet Central, the highlight show that we all worked on, and they just transitioned to only pre and post game shows, they moved me and Dave Feldman, Feldy and Fareed, Carpool Conventions. They moved us to the Giants pregame and postgame shows. And I remember being so excited as a baseball guy and falling in love with the Giants and their story over the previous 3 or 4 years that I had been there to get the opportunity to be around the Giants in a larger capacity, to do the pregame and postgame show with Dave, a good friend. But we were replacing Greg Papa and Bill Lasky and Vita Blue, and they were a staple of what the Giants had been through a lot of the really good years, their best years, obviously, in 2010 and then 2012. And so I remember that catching me by surprise a little bit is that how, not that Greg was well loved and hearing all the news about him now, it's just like, I hope he can beat what he's fighting now and get back to top health and get back on the microphone soon, because he literally is a legend. But
Yeah.
following that legend is not easy. And you're trying to do your best. You're trying to create your own voice, knowing that people are also going to miss the person that you're replacing. I found that difficult, and eventually you just have to be okay with it and say, no, I am me. I'm as great as he is. We're going to try to do something a little bit different. But that was a learning point in my career on trying to replace or come after a legend. And so I imagine it's similar with you with Brody because of all that he meant to the Sharks.
Yeah, definitely. And when you've been with a team for 14, 15 years and you were through the best of times, that's the other thing is that the best of times where you have the most eyeballs, right? The Sharks had their heyday when Brody was there, and he came along and he did great things, and he's entertained me, and he's great at his job. He knows what he's doing, and he's also one of my mentors. It's you and him who've been helping guide me through my whole career, and it has been tough, but I hope that everyone out there sees who's watching as Sharks fans that I was a Sharks fan at one point. I still am. I try to ride the line a little bit more as we're professionals, as they say, but I just want what's best for the Sharks. I want what's best for NBC Sports, and I just want what's best for me. And I don't want to show that every day. I take pride in what I'm going out there to do. And I think that's the thing. If you take pride in it and you know you're doing the best, and you can say that you did everything in your power to make that day great, whether it happens or not, because we all have bad shows, right? At least you can be okay with the effort you put out. It's when you don't prepare and when you're going in there and sometimes I had a newborn last year. I was a little tired. And so I was just trying to survive the days. And now that we're getting past that, we can really push hard. And I'm really excited for the season. And what's the old saying? You don't want to be the guy after the guy. You want to be the guy after the guy, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for our sakes, we hope we are the guy after the guy. It's
Yeah.
like Mike Tirico at NBC is a legend, is awesome. I had, the bad fortune for him in the Kentucky Derby. He
Yeah.
had the nut allergy, and so I had to step in for Mike. But it's like I do that on Premier League football with Rebecca Lowe, one of the most well-respected broadcasters in all of sports, next to Mike Tirico. And so it's just the farther you go, I've learned, Alan, is that you're gonna come across people that are really, really good at their job and really cool people, and you're gonna have to just try to do your thing with your voice and make it a little different and make it all you. And if you can embrace that and get a role you can be at for years and years, then the next guy has to worry about replacing, as I always call you, the Hoshids,
The
coming on the
Hoshids.
mic next. Yeah.
That'd be great. I hope I'm here for a very long time. I hope I'm here through the Macklin years. As now it's Macklin Celebrini is the guy, and hopefully bringing the Sharks back to where they need to go. And man, we just need to not be the last place team in the league, or the Sharks need to not be the last place team in the league. I think it's good that you're talking about this, because there is so much advice out there for young kids making it into the industry, going the local news route. But I don't know if there's a lot of advice out there when you hit that next step in your career, right? The step is do your stuff in local news and then finally get a hit and maybe go national or go regional. But the advice there for that shift isn't always there for the industry. A lot of it is how do you get into the industry? But now, what is it going from local news to a more prominent figure in the industry?
Yeah, and that was because I loved, and I think you're the same way, Alan, is that I loved local news. I loved being in a community. I loved knowing exactly what teams they were rooting for. And so I could serve them exactly the highlights or the local
Mm-hmm.
stories that they cared about. I loved shooting. It was like a lot of people say, you got to do everything in local news. You got a one-man band, which is you got to shoot and get the audio. And I liked that. I thought that was cool. Like to this day, I still am kind of a junkie with photography and videography. And so I liked that part of it. And you'd race back and you'd edit to the tape and you'd put it on air. And then the last thing of your day would be getting your tie on, throwing some makeup on, and going on TV. I would tell this to our producers all the time. I go, I think the easiest part of my day is that part where I'm on TV for 5 minutes, just saying whatever happened in sports that day.
Yeah.
So then to make the transition to where none of that stuff is part of your responsibilities anymore. You don't shoot anymore. You don't edit. And so you're only judged by what you do on TV. And MLB Network is the first time where I had that happen to me, where I was like, oh my gosh, like if I screw up this show, if I say a name wrong, it's like I can't go, well, at least I edited 5 of those pieces and shot this interview and came back and I edited the whole thing and then went and didn't. Like, no, I just talk on TV. That's kind of what my role is right now. And so your skill set of what is required of you, it changes in your brain a little bit. You're just like, man, do I need to be perfect now? When I talk, can I not ever mess up? Do I have to get every stat right? Because now this is what I'm solely judged on. And I do think that is a transition for some people. Now, again, we're super lucky to have to make that transition because there are a lot of people that want to get into the business that can't, that once they do, they have a hard time moving up. And so we've been fortunate enough to do that. But it is a transition, and it's like a different skill set, and you have to almost embrace a different identity of like, no, this is who I am. I am an on-air person trying to enhance the enjoyment of the show back to the people at home, and all that other stuff I did before. That was kind of a previous version of professional Ahmed.
Yeah, and you feel like you're almost not doing enough. I felt like it's like I could do more. I could keep doing more, but then you also realize that if you don't put all your power and all your concentration into those 30 minutes pre, 30 minutes post, then that's where things can shift. And so sometimes you have to kind of think like, just do what you're supposed to do. And if you need more content or if you need to go do extra interviews or shoot something because of whatever resources are available to you, that can wait because first and foremost, like you said, your job now is just to say and get us through the show. Let's be the traffic controller and get through the show and make it as clean as possible, engaging as possible, as entertaining. But that's got to be your number one. And everything else that you've done your whole career, for me, it was 8 years up to this point. That can't be your focus, even if it feels like, oh, I could do more. I can make more for this product. I can make it better. You almost have to feel like you have to pull back yourself a little bit till you can get that foundation, which I'm still working on right now, is foundation of being a great host, and then maybe add a little bit to it and do a little bit more. So that's something also that I kind of noticed here the last 12 months or so.
Yeah, I think, and even once I made the transition of like, all right, I'm a TV person, this is what I do, Giants pre and post game live, you still have to hold back sometimes because I'm such a huge baseball nerd. I love it. I get into the stats, I watch everything. And so when I would do a show with Sean Estes, who I love doing shows with, and Tim Flannery, they were the best. I had to make sure to give them space to be the expert because they're way more of an expert than I am. But I do follow the sport a lot, the same way with you, and the same way with a lot of people at home could go toe to toe with some of the analysts because they really do. They study it. They know all the numbers, the stats, the storylines. And so I had to make sure that I did not overstep where I was supposed to be as a host. Like I describe it as vibe control most of the time, right? It's like set up the analyst, vibe control, make it a fun watch. Ernie Johnson on Inside the NBA. You don't look at Ernie Johnson and go, oh, he's a basketball expert, even though you're pretty sure that he knows a ton about the NBA, but that's not his strength on that show. His strength on that show is orchestrating this great symphony of personalities. And then you watch that and you're like, man, that was a fun watch. They did that for us. They did that with a wink to the viewer. That was really cool. It wasn't that Ernie knew the offensive rating of the Golden State Warriors the last week and a half. You know, while that might be interesting to some, that's not his role there.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that too. It's just like, it's not about how much you know about what the Giants have done batting average wise, runners in scoring position last week and a half. Let Sean say that and describe why, and you can just make sure it's a fun and entertaining watch.
And that's some of the best advice you gave me. And I tried to think about is that you make your analysts the superstars. You make them the stars because that's your job. You aren't the focal point. And I think also that gets kind of lost in this day and age of that where some hosts, they're transitioning as former players or whatever it may be. And so they might have a little more insight, or that particular person believes their personality and their persona is the most important thing. And so they talk a little bit more. But for the most part, if you're a host and what you're doing is facilitating, you're a point guard, that should be your role. At least that's my opinion. And I think when I talked to you about the advice going into this job, it helped that you reinforced that, and that I didn't have to know everything. Let your analysts do it. And then now as I get a little second year, I was around the team a lot last year, saw every game for the most part. I can add a little bit nugget here and there, but that's not your primary focus.
Yeah, you can say the things that it becomes apparent to you. It's like, oh, I could add something right here and add it in a way that gets my analyst to share a story from when he was a player, or to add on to that something he knows extra about that player. That is the magic of it, right? It's just like, what do I need to push and give to the analysts here to get the most out of their personality? What do we need to home in on? Because I remember Randy Wynn. Love working with Randy Wynn with Giants Pregame Live, but I would do the Ahmed's Classroom, the time where I did get to shine as like, look at the stats nerd, because we really didn't have that. None of our analysts really wanted to dive into the
They still don't.
So I figured, So I figured maybe that'll be my fun role that I do for a minute and a half. I'll put on the glasses, take off the jacket, and go up to the chalkboard. And so we would do that, but when we would get done every time, Randy would shake his head and just be like, this stat nerd, man. You don't even know what it's like to play Major League Baseball. None of that applies what you just said. And it was a cool part of Randy's personality that came out. And I really enjoyed being a part of that, because I think it made it for a more interesting watch. And all the best TV shows out there, you have characters that are easily definable, that you know their positions on things, and you know what kind of sets them off. I thought that those were cool moments on set. And so it's things like that. It's not knowing what the Giants were doing with their bullpen the last month and a half, but it was those moments of getting Randy to kind of come out of his shell and become this character that I took a lot of pride in. And I think that made for a better show when we would do that.
So you're telling me now, as the director of development for the Giants, he's not having Ahmed's Classroom, like he's not talking about all the stats there. He's not doing that?
I don't know. Hey, I have not, talked about this with Randy in a little bit, but I would venture to say that some of the things that were in Ahmed's Classroom may or may not have come up in some of those front office meetings for the Giants. I don't know that for sure, but I'd be willing to guess that.
You've talked a lot about San Francisco, your time here. What does San Francisco, the Bay Area, kind of mean to you? I know your firstborn was here in the city, and a lot of life moments happened for you, but also it was golden age of Bay Area sports, really.
Oh my gosh. It was like I got there, and one of the first assignments I had was flying to New Orleans and covering the Ravens versus 49ers, Harbaugh versus Harbaugh Super Bowl. That was amazing. Being in Kansas City for the Giants winning it, their third World Series in 2014. Obviously, that was amazing. Being inside the Warriors Arena, they've had so many name changes now. I forget, Oracle Arena back in the day, where LeBron James and the company came back and won Game 7. Everyone was shocked inside that building on what just happened there. A season for the ages for the Warriors does not end in a championship. Amazing time. You mentioned it. Both my kids, Walnut Creek Hospital, were born there, and so they're California natives. I loved it because I love the vibe in California, in the Bay Area specifically, because it was like, if your team is doing well, they're all in, and you're hero worshiping those players and Buster Posey and Madison Bumgarner and Hunter Pence, and it's just a really cool environment to be a part of. If the teams are bad, the unfortunate thing is it is apathy. I'll take that over anger, honestly, that you get from some of the Philly and the New York here on the East Coast. I think apathy is probably a healthier way to handle your sports disappointments. So people wouldn't watch as much, but at the same time, there was not that anger. So the vibe, I enjoyed that. And I'll tell you what, Alan, is that I think that I found my voice there more than I have in any other place. Like MLB Network, the place I came from, I was just trying to survive in national TV and prove that I belong. But it was San Francisco doing the show with Feldy, and I was like, all right, I can kind of let my personality out here, and it's actually working. And I think I'm confident enough to pull that off. And so San Francisco will always be the place where I develop my voice and realize, yeah, TV done well in my eyes for me is exactly how we did it with Sportsnet Central and with the Giants pregame, postgame live. It's like there are times at NBC Sports now where I'm just like, I'd like to get back there. I'd like to get back to that Ahmed that was that comfortable in the setting where everything was right and you were there editing and we were all on the same page on everything that we were doing. It doesn't happen every time. As I'm learning, it's like once it happens, it might be fleeting. So enjoy it when it does.
It was a special place. I went out and went to the local news after that. And obviously local newsrooms are not going to be the same as a top 10 market and the professionalism and one comes into it, but just the relationships, everyone seemed to really care about the product and want to do great things. And there wasn't a whole lot of apathy in that sense of where, things can get tiring. It's not the most glamorous job behind the scenes, so it could get hard, but everyone seemed to care. The teams were good. And I always wanted to get back to the newsroom. I always wanted to come back. I still have friends that I still call to this day because of what we accomplished in that room. And it was a special place. And all the talent was super cool. There was not a whole lot of like big timing you out there. You had yourselves, and then you had Papa was be there too. And the one thing about Papa, and like you said, I hope he's fighting hard and gets back to the mic as soon as possible because the Bay Area loves him. But he remembers everything, and he remembers your name too. And it didn't matter if you were an intern. And so it was just a special place. And I don't think it will ever be replicated, both because of who was there. I think all the young people coming in, like myself, they all really wanted to be in this industry for long term. But also, you had the Sharks doing what they were doing, always in the playoffs. You had the Giants winning multiple World Series. The 49ers were always cream of the crop, going to Super Bowls. And then you had Steph Curry coming to life. Like, you just can't, it was a perfect storm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And while you're talking about all those old stories with Pop in the newsroom, I'm reminded by the fact that we had Yahoo Sports Talk Live, Chronicle Live before that. And so it was like Jim Colzamore and his cast of stars were coming through the building. Like, we were a hub. It was Tim Kawakami's, the Ann Killians, and everyone that was writing at the paper at that time that had a byline and a name. It was like we were the center of it. It was a really good time. And whatever happens with regional sports networks now, and now it goes to streaming, and now we're trying to put a lot of money into Peacock on the national level. And so what you also do find out is that nothing lasts forever, and it's always changing. But hopefully along the way, things are created and everyone gets to experience that 4 or 5 year period where it's just like, man, this is all clicking the way it should be clicking. And it all feels good. And it really did feel like that in the heydays of Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area to CSN Bay Area to NBC Sports Bay Area and California.
I almost said, I think I said CSN one day. I'm like into a tease, and I was like, oh, probably going to not hear about that one for sure.
It's like throwback jerseys, right? If the teams can do it, we can do it as announcers too.
We should have a Comcast Sportsnet throwback day where we put the old bugs up and everything like that.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
It's not bad. We should go back. But you talked about Peacock, and you're moving into a pretty significant role here during the fall. You have the NBA coverage, and then you're also got the Big Ten coverage. How excited are you for everything that's coming for your way for NBC and Peacock here?
So I'm pumped. I am pumped because I do think this is a rare opportunity to try to develop something new from the ground up. Now, of course, NBC Sports has had the NBA back in the day and the Jordan heyday. Exactly. We all know the song, which we'll bring back. But this is a new incarnation of that a couple decades later. And so I'm excited. I've got the Monday streaming package. So we'll have 1 or 2, I think maybe sometimes 3 games. I think they're still working that out. Where we're just kind of riffing. I think we have an hour pregame show that'll be maybe more podcast like. And so I'm excited that I can kind of put my thumb on the scale on developing something new and giving it a vibe from the get-go, because as you know, it's like once the train gets rolling and Sportsnet Central is what it is, it's kind of hard to steer the Titanic into a different direction. Like if I was to take over Football Night in America, before Sunday Night Football, that's kind of already its thing. But with this NBA coverage and our Big Ten football, which is still very new, and now stepping into the lead host role for that, I think there is a chance to, everyone wants to emulate. We're the next inside the NBA with Charles Barkley. No one will ever be that, but
Yeah.
you can be your own thing that's just as impactful. And so I think we have a couple opportunities to do that and hopefully make it, as I've said multiple times here, more enjoyable for the viewer watching the sports that they already love. It's just like make it just enhance their experience along the way.
Yeah, it's so we go back to Lansing, Virginia Beach,
Yeah.
MLB Network, and you go back through your journey a little bit, your career. Could you ever have seen this when little Ahmed, or whenever you decided like this was the profession you were going to do? This is where the
Well,
heights you would go. Like this is where
yeah,
it was going for you.
I would never guess the exact way it went for sure. Like out to San Francisco, that came out of nowhere, and that happened. I was covering the Giants divisional playoff series at
That's right.
MLB Network in 2012. Happened to be traveling out to San Francisco, met the right people while I was out there. Boom, my life changes forever. And now all of a sudden, 2 months later, I'm working out in San Francisco. Would have never guessed that even a month before that. So it's crazy the twists and turns that your career makes. I was always hopeful that I could do this for a living, but I honestly, when I got my first job in Lansing, Michigan, in local news, and then my second job in Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Virginia, local news, weekend sports anchor, met my wife out there. That would have been it. If that was it, I would have been okay with it
Hmm.
because I saw the people that were there forever. And we all know him, the local guy that's been there 30 years. Oh, man, he was my sports guy back in the day. He's still doing it. Like, I think that's kind of cool. And so if I would have stayed at local news my whole life, that would not have been a failure. That would not have been a disappointment. In some respects, it would have been even cooler because you can create those decade-long connections and you really are a part of the community as you experienced in the short time that you were at your places. So like throughout the whole thing, I didn't have that burning, like I need to get to the top NBC Sports in Connecticut for me to make it. And I was like, no. As long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I can make enough
Hmm.
money to support myself and now my family. It's like I'll be happy with it because it's such a cool gig that really, how can you not be? Even though there are stresses that go with it and deadlines every day and pressure, it's a fun gig because of that stuff a lot of times. So for me, my journey, it was just like if it stopped in Norfolk, Virginia as a local sports guy and I was there for 30 years, I still would have been pretty cool.
I
I
think
would have been pretty pumped with that whole thing.
things that stand out to me at first is like your love still for this gig, and I think
Hmm.
you only get to the points where you want to get to professionally, top 10 market, national, regional, whatever it may be, is if you really truly love it. Because it's going
Yeah.
to eat you up. Local news is going to eat you up. If you don't love the industry, if you don't love the grind, you're not going to get to go there. If you're just in it for the bad reasons, I still love it. I still love showing up. I still love telling stories. I wish we told more stories. I still love talking about sharks and everything that comes with it. I love editing still, and editing's so much fun because you get to create what the viewer sees, and I think that's really cool. But the other thing that you said is what I went through, and we probably had this conversation. Things ended in Hawaii for me, not on the greatest of terms, not really
Hmm.
on my terms, and I thought I was going to be done with my on-air gig because I was moving back to San Francisco for my family, and that's where we were going. It wasn't like I was searching for another market. It wasn't like I was searching for another job. I was coming back home to San Francisco after 8 years on the local circuit, and I just said, you know what? I'm not failing. At time, like early on when my contract was ending, I felt like I was a little bit failing, that I didn't reach the places that I wanted to go. But I came to grips. I was like, I did a lot of cool things, got to experience a lot of really cool things, and it was still a get to job, as Ernie Johnson says. But I had to come to grips kind of with how it was going to end, if it was okay that it ended this way. And I did. And it's funny how that works, is where you come to an agreement with yourself and you break through that wall of, I'm not a failure. I accomplished a lot of things. There's a lot of people who don't even make it past their first contract. And after you do that, you close up shop. We move back. I was like, I'm just going to see where this takes me. I'm going to edit a little bit, stay in the industry. I love doing it, and we'll see. And then the door opens and you put your foot back in and you dive back in. And it just goes to show you that the world has something planned for you a little bit. And you just have to trust
Yeah.
yourself. More than anything, trust yourself. And it's funny when you say goodbye to something, the old saying, it might come back to you a little bit.
It's I mean, it's like hearing you say that. That is so true. It's like once you get to the point where you mentally are like, well, maybe this is not going to happen, that's when it has the best chance of happening, which is crazy how life works out like that. And I've thought that to this day when I was at MLB Network and when I was at local news in San Francisco or with at the regional in San Francisco with you guys early on. It's just like, hey, what's worst case scenario? This doesn't work out. They don't accept me on the West Coast. What's the worst case scenario? I get to national TV now in Connecticut, and I'm not quite good enough for the gigs. And they say, Ahmed, you got to go do something else. I tell myself, I'm like, you know what? I've already done a lot of cool things. I've gotten to see a lot of cool things. The same way that you talked about it is just like, would I be happy if this was my career and if it was over right now? Yeah, I made it farther than I ever thought I would. I did in this business. I made it farther. Not that you want to compare yourself to others, but it's like they're 99% of the people want to get to the national level. It's very hard to do that.
Yeah.
Give yourself the props for as far as you made it without needing it to continue to feel like you've made it still. And so it's just like, hey, did I do what I set out to do? Yeah, absolutely. And if they say tomorrow, Ahmed, go find something else, who knows? Maybe there's something cooler out there for me that I still need to discover.
Got to find validation other ways. And I think it does help as we move into the next section of this, as we wrap it up. Ahmed Fareed, obviously we all know Ahmed doing what he does on the national level with NBC, go back a long time with him. But before we get to the dad advice, we have to talk about some blind rankings. I love doing this. It's a little fun one. And with you've covered some major scale things, right? You've basically covered everything that you ever, like anybody in this industry, like, this is what I want to cover. You've done it. So we're going to do.
So I can speak. I was like, was it worth it or not? You know?
Yes, exactly. So we're going to do blind ranking 5 best sporting events to cover. Okay. Not to go to as a fan, to a cover from your standpoint. So I'm pulling up my little notes here for you. We're going to start with the World Series. And let's
the World Series.
Should we do the caveat that the team that you're covering wins, or does that not matter?
I don't think that matters from covering. I mean, obviously it's better, as you know. Like the Sharks are crushing it right now. It'd be better to cover the Sharks. We all know that. But we'll just go neutral. Neutral. It could go either way. We don't know. It's game 1 of the World Series. What if we do that? I mean, as a baseball guy, so it's like I'm going to be biased on this a little bit. I do think there's something special about the home fans are there and they're screaming. And I remember being in Kansas City game 7. Like there are some images there that I will never forget. Trying to anticipate what else is on your list. I'm going to go a World Series just because it's fall and the weather and it's just like it. I'm going to go number 1. I'm going to go number 1. I'm going number 1. Filling it up. With the danger that I know what could be coming here, but I think that's going to be number 1 for me, a World Series.
Wow. Okay. I knew it would be high because I know you're a baseball guy. But I didn't know 1. It's already shot to the top. So this one, I thought I didn't know where you'd be here, but with an NBA championship.
So I've done that. When I was in local news in Detroit, I was covering the Pistons championship, and obviously the Warriors. Then after that, I was in the locker room for the Pistons one when they were dousing each other with champagne, and Kid Rock was walking through with a Larry O'Brien trophy. It's insane. It's like a Forrest Gump moment, right? Ahmed was there for that. NBA championship was cool. I would put that. I'm going to put that number 3. I think that's number 3 for me, right in the middle. It was awesome. It was a championship. It was Lakers that the Pistons beat at that time too. So got to see some cool people. You're seeing the best of the best of 3. It's an awesome event.
And you alluded to this next one. You had to step into the big chair this year after an allergic reaction from the great Mike Tirico. Kentucky Derby. Where would that be on your list?
So that's a good one. Kentucky Derby. Now, of all the things I cover at NBC, and we did a little bit of football, and obviously we do the Olympics, which gets a lot of pub every couple of years. The one that no doubt people say, I want to go to that one day, is the Kentucky Derby. So I think Kentucky Derby solid 2 behind the World Series, because it is such an iconic thing that everyone's just like, they don't even care about horse racing, right? I just want to go dress up and see the event, see if I can win some money, be part of the 150,000. I love the Kentucky Derby as an event. That's number 2. That's solid number 2.
After the Kentucky Derby, we have a Super Bowl.
So Super Bowl, the fact that you were there, is awesome. You can tell people I was at a Super Bowl. And they go, wow, you're at a Super Bowl. I saw Beyonce at halftime. Whoa, you saw Beyonce at halftime. It's crazy. The commercials are so long for the Super Bowl. It's like, it's cool when you're at home because you can watch them all, and that's half the fun. And maybe for some people, 90% of the fun. You don't get that in the arena. So while thank my lucky stars, I can say, yes, I've covered a Super Bowl as an event to cover because there's so much media there and you're not getting much more than anyone else is getting. I'm going to put that at 5. Awesome event. Number 1 American event out there, obviously, for sports. But to cover it, not that great. Great, yes, great. But in comparison to what we're talking about, not as
And
good.
there's just so much chaos, especially on that opening night. Like, it's just straight chaos of the media night. And anybody, and almost anybody can get a credential, especially nowadays. So it's like anybody
You're
get a
not
credential.
Special, for sure.
You're not special for that first one. So the last one is the Olympics, obviously, is what's going to be the last one on the list. So good luck.
So I put World Series 1, I put Kentucky Derby 2, I put NBA 3. So if I was to do it again, I would put Olympics 3 because that is also so unique. And Paris was such an amazing 3-week stretch. But you know what? I can reconcile a 4 for the Olympics because while it is so memorable, it is the most grueling thing that we cover. It is, by the time you factor in rehearsals and everything, you're at a foreign city for 3.5 weeks a month, which obviously sounds awesome, but you're working every day. You're working long hours every day. And I can tell you a story. I don't think I've told this that much. Is the first time when I was working in San Francisco, they called me up and say, hey, Ahmed, would you come to Stamford, Connecticut and host our USA Network daytime Olympic show? And I was like, oh, cool. That's awesome. And I was super nervous to do it. And I wanted to do really well, obviously, because it was the first time the national network got a look at Ahmed Fareed from San Francisco. So the first week, I'm just like crushing it. And I'm like, all right, this is great. And then week 2 comes around. I'm like, all right, we're still going good. This is great. Week 3, I am exhausted. It has been every day. It's like my head is spinning with all the information that I've had to retain. And I go, I hope I've done well. Do I want them to call me back? Do I want to sign up for this again? Yeah. Because when you get to the end of it, you are exhausted from the whole rigmarole. But then you think back on it, and some of the best friends that I have in the business, I just knew for the 3 weeks that I was with them for an Olympics. So that's an awesome event, but covering it is fairly grueling. So I'm going to stand by that 4. I'm standing by the 4 for the Olympics.
You like it. And I will probably say, or from my perspective, there's the 2 sides, right? Where you go to national and you do it from Stanford and you cover it that way. But if you're there, it's also a different feeling too. Like when you're in Paris, like you were, that's got to be a little bit better of an Olympics type of experience, even though you're working a ton, but at least you're there. You have the athletes come through with their gold medals and you have it kind of in that sense. So there is, for anybody out there who doesn't know that, there are kind of 2 different ways of covering the Olympics with NBC.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more Stamford, Connecticut, home-based, just when the technology that we have now to be able to beam stuff halfway across the world with no delay. It's amazing what they can do with that. But yeah, you're right. Being in Paris was amazing. And it's those events where everyone's watching, right? We don't get it that often. You get it with the Super Bowl, you get it with the World Series and an NBA Finals, all the things you listed off, a Kentucky Derby. But it's like Paris really proved the Olympics can come back and be what they were before. And so, like, everyone in the company was feeling pretty good after last summer.
And it also helped that you had maybe the most iconic moment of Olympics in, 20 years when Steph threw in that dagger, and it's going to live forever. I think the year anniversary was a day ago from when we're taping this. So, Steph, San Francisco always is intertwined with you somehow as you move through your career, right?
They're following me around. It's just like, Steph, get your own game. All right, man, let me blossom here and shine, spread my wings.
We talked about validation and how that kind of changes what you do in this industry, what you do personally. And I think for me, once I had my kids, that all kind of changed. Of course, you want to do great in your career, and you want to be the best that you can be. You want to make people proud, and you want to work hard. But then you get to come home and you get to be dad again. And yes, that's another job to do. but it doesn't, they don't care. And yeah, my 4-year-old's starting to be like, oh, you're on TV a little bit, like kind of figuring that out. But
Hmm.
my best validation comes from my kids, and I can't
Yeah.
for everything that they say about don't have a family, don't get married. If you really want to make it in this industry, you can't get married, you can't have anybody. I think maybe that's the old way of thinking, but I also
Yeah.
think that is supremely wrong in what they're trying to
Yeah.
tell young people getting into this industry.
Who told you that? That person sounds miserable.
Yeah,
Like it is true though. And you mentioned it, like the sacrifices you have to make to get into, even when you're in local news. Like my days off for the first 10 years of my career were Mondays and Tuesdays. Any of my friends who did not have a Monday or Tuesday wedding, which none of them did, I could not go.
yeah,
So yeah, there are sacrifices. You're working nights, and so it's just a weird schedule, and you're always on. And sometimes it's like, hey, you're working nights, but you got an event going on at 11:30 in the morning over here that you probably should cover too. So it's grueling, and so it does make that family life difficult. But I agree with you. It's like when I got done hosting the Kentucky Derby, and I called home. My wife obviously had been watching, and my son and my daughter watched a little bit, and they're 11 and 9, so they're old enough to know what's going on. But my son was more interested in the new season of Fortnite that was coming out and wanted to tell me about that. And my daughter was talking about, frogs were in the yard and catching their first frogs of the spring. And so it's just, you realize like, all right, this stuff is super important to us. It's our livelihood. It's how we make a living. It's important to the people watching at home, but obviously there's more to life than just TV and sports and your job. And everyone knows that there's more to life than the job. And so it's like the kids and the family and the wife and Kathleen, who I've been with, all through San Francisco. She's moved all around the country with me. It's just like without them, it doesn't matter. It's like you wouldn't want to do it without them. It's just like having them be a part of this whole journey is what makes the journey even more special. And so I think it definitely enhances what I've been able to do, both on camera, behind camera, is just having that family support with me the whole way.
yeah. And as they get older now, they see dad, and you can at least point to that time in their life that, hey, this is
Yeah.
this is who I was, and they get a appreciation for what you do, and it wasn't something that was lost on them. So I think that's really cool too, where they can start understanding what you do. But like you said, they don't actually really care. They're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
There's frogs.
Yeah. And even if they
Frogs are
do
way more.
understand, they're like, Dad, that's not that big a deal. All right,
No.
cool. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You talk about sports
Cool.
on TV. It's like, no, that's cool. People want to do that. There are a lot of people that want to do that, and they go,
Yeah.
whatever. All right. Are you a YouTuber? And then
Yeah.
stop talking.
Well, you have a podcast now, and so that's why I'm doing this. I'm just trying to be a podcaster so I can fit in with all the cool kids.
Exactly. They think this is cooler than anything you do with the Sharks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your kids are 11 and 9. Mine are 4 and 14 months, 15 months. What advice, because I always like to do some dad advice here on the mic is open.
Yeah.
What advice would you give me here to get through, I don't know, the next 5+ years of my life where I'm trying to figure out, is sleep ever going to happen again?
Yeah. Well, you know what they always say to new parents, like, hey, enjoy it. It goes fast. It's over before you know it. I found that to be very false. It's like early on, you're like, this is going as slow as my life has ever gone before. Like my kid's only 2. I've only had it for 2 years. This seems like an eternity. So
Yeah.
once the kids start to get 11, 12, they're like my kids right now, then it starts to accelerate. The advice is, it's tough, because I think any advice that any parent gives is advice that is fresh in their mind from the last week. It's like, oh, you should always do this. Come to find out, the person giving you that advice has been doing that for 2 days. It worked for one of the days with the kids, and then it's about to stop working after that. And so that
Yes.
advice no longer is relevant for them or you. So I don't have any advice other than just like enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Just sit in those moments where they're running off into the distance and just be like, man, 20 years from now, I'm going to wish I was standing right here watching my kid do that. And so that would be my only piece of advice. And that's an advice I try to give myself all the time, is be where your feet are and enjoy this time, because even though you're tired and all that, there's going to be a time in the future where you wish you were right back there living this life with your kids again. So that would be my advice.
The one thing, like you said, the last week that I've tried to work on is just do whatever we need to do to survive. It does, like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they're not sleeping. Is this a wake window long enough? We're big on wake windows. So is this wake window long enough? Did they take a long enough nap? Should we My wife has been lucky enough to still be able to feed our child. And so it's like, should we still be doing that? I was like, just do whatever we need to do to get through the
Yep.
day. Because you know what? Like you said, it's going to work today. And then if it works tomorrow, it may not work the day after that, or it may not work a
Yeah.
week from now. So what's the use in getting so bent out of shape when the end goal, as we know, is like my kids are going to end up, they're both girls, so they're going to share a room. If they're sleeping great now, that's fine. In 5 years, when they both can get out of their bed and do whatever they want, they're not going to sleep. They're just going to go and
Yeah.
like harass each other or have like
Yep.
a tea party. Or my youngest is just going to throw something at her across the room. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. So in 5 years from now, you're still going to have issues.
It's all going to change. That's why I tried not to stress all the developmental stuff early on. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? He doesn't know his alphabet right now. I can be pretty sure that by 18 he'll know his alphabet and he'll be able to read. So I think they're going
Yes.
to be okay
Yeah.
at that point. No, it's a trip. It's funny. It's you got all the videos you look back on, and it does actually. I not to be one of those parents, but I look back at videos from 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids were babies, and now they're not that anymore. And so it's fun seeing them grow, and it's like in anything that takes us, away from our job that we love to think about all the time. It's a good thing for all of us.
All right, and before I let you go, what is the one thing that maybe your kids, because they were born
Yeah.
here, maybe they don't have the longest memories of San Francisco, but it's
No.
one thing you always do when you come back here with the kids that maybe is a little nostalgia if you do get
Yeah.
back here.
Yeah, you know what? We haven't been back with the kids. I've been back a couple times coaching core with Feldy. I've seen him a
Yeah.
couple times. New dad himself.
Dude,
I,
God
I
bless
would say
him.
we.
God bless him.
Yeah, I don't know how he's. Yeah, yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. Huge mistake. No, he's a great dad. He's the best. I would say Alta Plaza Park. One year we lived in San Francisco, Pacific Heights area, off California in Pierce, and Alta Plaza Park was right there. I loved that view. I would go back, go to Alta Plaza Park. I'd go down Fillmore Street. We'd go to Rome Artisan Burger there. We'd go to Sweet Maple and have their Millionaire's Bacon. Those are my memories from like downtown San Francisco, taking the bus to work late at night, coming back. And so it's one I always say to people that haven't been to San Francisco or the Bay Area, I was like, it's the most unique place in the country. Like there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And so it's just like those memories and then showing them Fisherman's Wharf and stuff like that. That's exactly what we'll do if I get back. When I say that it literally like changed my life, it really did. The people I met, you included, along the way, it's just I'm glad it was a part of my journey.
Don't speak so fondly of this place to everyone else across the country. Everyone thinks San
That's
Francisco's in
true.
the crapper. So let's just keep it that way. You
That's true.
know,
Yes.
it's
I'm
a
just trying to
terrible
balance out the
place. Don't
colors.
come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's
My
too
one voice is
expensive.
not going to change.
It's too expensive. Don't come here.
Yeah.
No, it's great. I mean, make sure you visit the neighborhoods. Yes, downtown is downtown. Downtown in any major city is not like the most fun place to ever be. So visit the
Yeah.
neighborhoods if you come to San Francisco. But Ahmed, I appreciate coming on here, spending some time. I know you're a busy man doing all the things you're doing, getting ready for NBA season, Big Ten, and all that comes. And hopefully we'll catch up again. If nothing else, it makes me have to talk to you for an hour every, I don't
I
know,
like
quarter or
that.
whatever it has to be.
Never too busy for you. So proud of all that you've accomplished and know that even greater and bigger things are on the horizon. Have fun with Sharks. I know you're doing a service to everyone that's watching them each and every night. And so enjoy it. And yeah, we'll talk again whenever you want, Hoshida.